Welcome back everybody. This is part 38 on What If Kid Asta Meets Noelle's Mother. I do not own Black Clover or any of the characters in this video. They belong to their own respected authors. Chapter 47. Are we almost there? Asked the vermilion-haired boy, walking next to the two dwarves as they neared their destination, which, according to the older dwarf, was a mineral or crystal cave of some sorts. Yes, we're almost there, came a gruff reply from Torbjorn to Leopold's question. Though I have to ask, Thornton spoke, glancing over to Asta and Lieb, how did you two manage to come along? Asta and Lieb look at each other before Asta lightly laughed. Leo called me, Asta eventually replied. Kek, yes he did, at 8 in the morning today, Lieb added. Flashback, 4 or so hours ago. Asta woke up to the sound of his communicator going off. He groggily moved his hand towards his personal bedside table and picked it up while sitting up to stand up. Hello, Asta muttered groggily. Hey Asta. Leopold grinned as an image of his face appeared in front of the ash blonde. Oh, hey Leopold. Asta muttered out. What is it? How come you're calling so early? Why? Because Torbjorn told me just last night about the location of rare metals that he needs for forging new weapons for others that request weapons, and he said that I could come, as well as bring around 2 other people. Thornton is also coming because there's a rare axe at this cave we're going to. As for who I told Torbjorn I'd bring, you and your brother Lieb. Huh? Why us 2 in particular? Asta groggily replied. Well, for one, Lieb has anti-magic, yeah, so he'd want more weapons added to his department of anti-magic weapons. As for you, isn't it obvious? I got wind about you having star magic, so I figured inviting you along would allow you to get a feel for your magic, better than sitting around in House Silva all day doing paperwork or looking at pictures and trying to figure out new spells for your star magic. So what do you say, Ewan? Asta groggily replied. When are you leaving for it? Soon, Leopold answered. I can come by House Silva to pick you and Lieb up, since you know, Houses Silva and Vermilion are pretty close to one another. Alright, lemma just get dressed and wake Lieb up, Asta groggily remarked. It should only take about 10-15 minutes, maybe a tad longer if Lieb decides to be stubborn when getting up. Great, I'll be over there in about 20 minutes tops. Leopold grinned before hanging up. Flashback end. I see, so that's how it happened. Thornton mused to himself. Kek, yeah. Lieb retorted. Anyway, are we there yet? Just about, Torbjorn answered. However, just as soon as he said that, the group of 5 arrived at their destination. And we're here. Finally, Asta grinned. Indeed, Leopold agreed. So let's head inside. Yes. Torbjorn nodded in agreement as the group of 5 entered the cavern. So, what are we looking for again? Asta asked as the group traveled deeper into the cavern. Materials for me to use for forging new weapons. Torbjorn answered, and a legendary axe for me to use. Thornton added, not that I despise using my iron axes. I just figured it'd be a nice change of pace. Kek, plus this would be a good time to test your magic out, Asta. Lieb pointed out. True, Asta agreed. Though I don't know how much mana I have right now. Huh? Leopold questioned. What do you mean by that? Asta glanced at Leopold before replying to his question. So you haven't been told about what's going on with me, Asta remarked. Well, to put it simply, I'm getting mana injected into me by the needle so my body can get used to it, and hopefully eventually, my body will be able to make its own mana. How soon do you think that'd be? Leopold asked curiously. I'm not sure, Asta admitted. I was told it could take a year, maybe longer. Leopold looked over at Asta curiously. Before he could ask Asta any more questions, Torbjorn and Thornton stopped, thus causing Asta, Lieb, and Leopold to stop too. What's wrong? Lieb questioned. This sensation. Thornton frowned. This isn't regular mana, Torbjorn remarked, arms crossed. Could this be a spirit? A spirit? Asta repeated. Kek, yes, Lieb remarked. Like Sylph and Fae. Torbjorn paused, then mentally facepalmed. Oh yes, now I remember. Torbjorn spoke. Remember what? Leopold asked curiously. I discussed with the spirit that guards and watches over each and every dungeon to allow me and a few friends free passage into here. Torbjorn explained. That'd be you 4. He gestured to Thornton, Leopold, Asta, and Lieb, though I'll admit, she was hesitant to allow more than 3 more people, but she accepted after I told her that'd be in and out. So where is it that we need to go to get these materials and the new axe for Thornton? Asta asked, just as he put his right foot down on a floor tile. It fell down like a button. Suddenly, the ground underneath them began to quake. Asta, you fool, Lieb snapped. Where the hell is your mana sensory? a pillar of earth magic mana sprouted up and became a giant rock wall. I'm sorry, Asta called back. Before Lieb or Asta could make a move to break the wall, Torbjorn and Thornton appeared right in front of Asta and punched through the giant rock wall with their bare hands alone, thus shattering the earth magic trap wall to pieces in an instant. Leopold grinned in satisfaction while Asta and Lieb had their mouths agape in surprise at what they just saw. Note to self, don't piss off the dwarves, Lieb muttered, while Asta still had his mouth agape at the sight that he just bore witness to. Let's keep moving, Torbjorn grunted. Right. Leopold grinned, following both Thornton and Torbjorn. Come on Asta, Lieb, lest me, Torbjorn, and Thornton will leave you to behind. Asta and Lieb looked at each other for a good few seconds before shrugging and following the three. Right behind you, Asta called, after a while mostly Asta and Lieb running into more traps. While Thornton and Torbjorn had to save them, the group of 5 finally make it to their destination. Asta and Lieb look around in astonishment. Whoa, Asta breathed. This entire cave is made of crystals, the walls, the ceiling, and even the floor. And you can just feel the magic in them too, Leopold remarked. Okay Asta, Lieb, don't move unless we tell you, otherwise you might set off traps. Again, kek, blame shrimp for that. Lieb snickered. You're the same height as me, Asta shot back. Don't care. Lieb grinned smugly, not noticing where he stepped next until it was too late. Huh? Suddenly, the crystal walls of the cavern began to crack and out came several crystal warriors or soldiers, each one holding a different type of weapon, ranging from a sword to a bow. Thornton, Torbjorn, Asta, and Leopold all stopped and turned to look at Lieb. What? Lieb remarked. Really Lieb? Asta groaned as he raised his hands up, now imbued with some star magic mana, preparing to fight the golem's gargoyles. How was I supposed to know that there was a trap activation right there? Lieb snapped out of irritation as he got the demon dweller's sword out from his grimoire. Whatever. Time to cut them down. He flew towards one of the golems and swung his sword at it. Torbjorn took notice and called out to the devil. Lieb, wait. Torbjorn called to him, but once again, Torbjorn's warning is too late as Lieb cuts the golem in half. Kek. Did you see that? Lieb grinned victoriously. Yes we did. Torbjorn groaned. However, you didn't kill it, huh? Lieb wondered aloud, confused by what he meant. Before he turned around and see what Torbjorn meant, Asta appeared in front of him and got him out of harm's way just as the golem's sword sliced in the area where Lieb was originally. What the hell? Lieb gasped. I swear I cut that damn thing in half. These golems are made of both magical and physical matter, boy. Torbjorn told Lieb gruffly. That's why I told you to wait. So what? We need to use magic and physical attacks to defeat them, Lieb questioned before groaning loudly. Great. Oh come Lieb, Asta grinned. This'll be good for both of us. Ugh, fine, Lieb remarked before turning to face Torbjorn, who had already begun fighting against some of the golems. Hey Torbjorn, how do we deal with these things? We need to use both magical and physical attacks to defeat them, Torbjorn confirmed. Who in the actual hell would design golems like this? Lieb demanded irritably. Someone who clearly doesn't want us here, that's for sure, Leopold yelled, dodging a golem. Torbjorn, can't you try to contact that damn spirit and get them to call off the golems? Thornton yelled. I contacted her before about us coming. Torbjorn called back. Lieb stepped on one of her trap triggers, thus the golems appeared. I don't like that we have to destroy her traps to get what we need, but we have no choice. So we get to battle these things, Asta questioned before grinning. Cool. Lieb turned to Asta and gave him an incredulous look as he slashed at one of the golems before evading a punch from another. Are you stupid or something? Lieb demanded. These things are made to withstand magic and physical attacks. And unless you're as strong as Wizard King Julius, or the uncrowned undefeated lioness, Mariuleona Vermilon herself, or even Queen Asir Silva, no one human can take these things out by themselves. Thornton added, we dwarves may be powerful, and perhaps even on par with the elves in terms of magic power, but we know our limits. So with that in mind, this is to be a team effort. Understand? Star magic, meteor, Lieb, Leopold, Torbjorn, and Thornton turned a bit to see Asta, cloaked by his star magic mana, punching a golem with his bare hands that were now imbued by his star magic mana. Well then, Leopold remarked, Asta understood perfectly. Indeed, Thornton noted, that spell he just used is both a physical and a magical attack. If that's true, then he should have no problem handling that one, Torbjorn remarked as he turned to Lieb and Leopold. Hey, you two, fight off the remaining golems. Me and Thornton will aim for what we need from here. Works for me, Leopold grinned as he leapt forward to face one of the golems. Come on, Lieb. Ugh, fine, Lieb remarked out of irritation, following Leopold and getting the demon dweller sword out of his grimoire. Flame magic, spiral flames, Leopold declared, launching two beams of flame magic from his raised arms towards the golems. Anti-magic, black delete, Lieb declared, firing black orbs from the demon dweller sword to hit the crystal golems. The golems Lieb hit with black delete, all staggered backward, even a few pieces of them began to fall off as well. However, this doesn't falter the golems as they fire back with crystal beams of mana at Leopold, Asta, and Lieb. Lieb rolled out of the way and fired more black deletes at the golems, while Leopold went for flame magic, flame eruption to cause the golems to be shot into the air so Asta and Lieb could combo them. But no matter how much damage they dealt, they couldn't seem to find an opening to permanently stop the golems. They're regenerating faster than we can damage them, Asta pointed out. I should hope Thornton and Torbjorn get what they need soon, Leopold added in agreement. I'm not sure how much more of this we can take. With Torbjorn and Thornton, the two walked up a staircase that led up to what held an axe within a crystal prison. Thornton approached it and pressed his right hand to it. I should be able to break it out, Thornton noted, before he frowned. Though that might anger the spirit, he looked down to see Asta, Lieb, and Leopold fighting against the golems. Then up at Torbjorn. Shouldn't we help them? No, Torbjorn replied gruffly. If they can't handle these golems created by spirit magic that require both magical and physical attacks to take out, then they will not be considered worthy to fight in the upcoming battles ahead. Torbjorn, Thornton gaped in slight disbelief at the older dwarf's words. If we do nothing, then they could end up dying. And you know as well as I do that we don't want an angry Noelle Silva, as well as an angry Fugolian and Marioleona Vermilion coming after us. Torbjorn grunted in irritation, ultimately silently admitting defeat and that Thornton is right. All right, Torbjorn began. Then I'll compromise with you. I'll make a sword for the newly gained star magic on Asta. Sounds good to me. Thornton agreed as he began to pull out an iron axe from his grimoire and began to smash the crystals imprisoning the legendary axe. But how do you plan to make it? With my magic obviously, Torbjorn remarked as he raised his arms up. Flame magic, spiral flames. Leopold launched two more flame magic beams at two golems. While it made them slide back a bit, the golems didn't seem bothered by it at all. Goddamn it all. Chi. These bastard golems are tough, Lieb breathed, absorbing a crystallized mana beam with the demon dweller sword, then fired it back at the golem, who created a crystallized shield to block its own attack, being sent back at him via said sword. While Asta fought against two at once, he used his star magic, meteor, and punched their heads, thus making a whiplash effect occur as the two golems staggered backwards before falling to the ground on their backs. Hey guys, Asta called to Lieb and Leopold. The crystal golems are weak in the head, aim for that. At that, Lieb and Leopold looked at each other before grinning. Kek. Alright, Lieb remarked, flying up to take on two of the remaining four golems. Seems simple enough, Leopold agreed, following Lieb. Here we go. Anti-magic, black slash. Lieb launched several black slashes of anti-magic from the demon dweller sword. The black slashes connected on the neck on one of the golems, while Leopold blasted the same golem in the face with his flame magic. Spiral flames again. This time, however, the two remaining golems staggered backwards before they fell backwards and onto the ground. Asta, Lieb, and Leopold looked up at one another and grinned. Then their attention turned to Thornton and Torbjorn that were above them after hearing clapping. Well done you three, Torbjorn complimented. Thornton got the new axe he wanted. He paused and turned his attention to Asta. And as a reward for your hard work, I shall forge you a sword that you can use. Really? Thanks so much. Asta grinned, now starry-eyed. I have to forge it first, boy. Torbjorn reminded the Ashblundet. Asta only nodded solemnly as Torbjorn leapt down to the ground, Thornton following soon behind. After that, Torbjorn's grimoire appeared in front of him as he raised his arms up. Forging magic. Blacksmith, Torbjorn declared. As soon as he declared the spell, the heads of the four crystal golems flew into his grimoires. As a result, the remaining body parts of the golems dissipated into mana of the cavern. Shortly after, a forging table appeared in front of Torbjorn, with the four heads of the crystal golems on it, along with the materials necessary to forge. Asta, Lieb, and Leopold watched with interest, particularly Asta. While Torbjorn worked, without looking up, he spoke. Do you have a particular design in mind, Star Magic Boy? Torbjorn asked the ash blonde. Asta put a hand to his chin before snapping his fingers and gesturing to the demon dweller sword that Lieb was holding in his right hand. I want it to look similar to this. Torbjorn looked briefly before going back to work. Good choice, he gruffly remarked before going back to work. Eventually, after roughly 30 or so minutes, Torbjorn finished. He handed the sword to Asta, which was wrapped in a special cloth. It's still hot from being melted. Once you get your grimoire, you'll be able to put the sword in it. Wait, I can still get a grimoire even though it's past the due date to get one? Asta questioned. Kek, you dummy. Lieb snickered. Yuno's elf counterpart, Kane, got his grimoire from the grimoire tower with Ren, so I'd imagine that she and Noelle would do the same for you. Go with you. I mean, oh, right. Asta nodded. Ready to head back, Asta? Leopold asked the ash blonde male. Asta turned to the youngest Vermilion least out of two siblings, Fugolian and Marioliona, and nodded. I'm ready, Asta replied. Kek, then let's go back, Lieb remarked. Just as they headed out of the cavern and were about to say goodbye to one another, Asta stopped. This caused Leopold, Thornton, Torbjorn, and Lieb to stop as well. The other four bore confused looks as they looked at each other, then at the ash blonde boy, then back at each other, then back at Asta. Asta began humming to himself as he looked over the sword in his hands, still wrapped in the cloth. Torbjorn was the first to break the silence amongst the five. What is it, boy? He asked. Asta snapped out his thoughts. Oh, I was just thinking of a name I could give this sword. Oh, like what? Leopold asked curiously. Asta carefully unrolled the cloth to reveal the sword. He looked at it over a few more minutes before rolling the cloth back up over the sword, a smile on his face. I got it, Asta spoke. I will name this sword Judgment. Noelle awoke and blinked a few times, seeing sunlight pouring in through one of the windows of her and Asta's bedroom. She sat up and looked over to her left to see if Asta was still sleeping next to her. To Noelle's surprise, however, he wasn't. Maybe Asta is training outside with Lieb, Noelle thought as she got out of bed and going over to the window with the sunlight shining through. Covering her eyes with her right hand to shield her eyes from the sunlight to see, she once again didn't see Asta, nor Lieb, for that matter, outside training. Noelle muttered. Where could they be? She then turned her attention to the smell of food being cooked downstairs. Food. Just as she was about to head out, she glanced back over at her bedside table and noticed that her alarm was off. My alarm didn't go off? She shook her head. Never mind about that. I need food. And with a stretch or two, Noelle soon left her and Asta's bedroom and headed down the stairs. After some trouble and pain grunted from Noelle, she eventually makes it down the stairs and into the kitchen to see Ren cooking. Okay, so a couple things. Noelle began. 1. Why is my alarm off? And 2. Where the hell are Asta and Lieb? Good afternoon to you too, Noelle, Ren replied, not bothered by Noelle's crude tone as she continued cooking. To answer your questions, 1. I turned it off. Noelle gaped at that answer, though expected it, still peeved her a tad. And for 2, I don't know myself. Did you check outside? I looked out my and Asta's bedroom window to see if they were training, Noelle remarked, but all I saw were your grandfather and uncle training. Ren hummed, continuing to cook. Did you look on your bedside table, or even in here on the kitchen table for a note from either of them? Noelle stared at Ren incredulously, yet looked over at the kitchen table anyway. To her surprise, there actually was a note on the table from Asta. Curious about what it said, Noelle approached and lifted the note up off the table to read it. Unfortunately, all the note said is that Asta and Lieb have gone out with Leopold, Thornton and Torbjorn somewhere, not where they were going or how long they'd be gone. This, of course, worried Noelle, but at the same time, it irritated her a bit. Chi, when Asta and Lieb get back, out Noelle Ren, we're back. The door opened and closed, to reveal Asta and Lieb entering the main hallway of House Silva before heading into the kitchen. Duck, Ren only said, not looking up from her cooking. Before either Asta or Lieb could do anything, confused, a water ball hit them both. Ack, Asta and Lieb cried out, staggering backwards as a result. Where the hell have you been? Noelle demanded. It's great that you said you were leaving in the note, but you don't explain where, or how long you'd be gone. Asta sputtered out water from his mouth to regain the ability to breathe properly. Leopold just invited me and Lieb to go with to a cavern for something Thornton and Torbjorn needed to do. Neither of the dwarves told any of us how long we'd be gone. Noelle, however, simply crossed her arms, and for some reason, you didn't bother to message me? Noelle asked incredulously. You were still asleep when we left. Asta began to defend himself and Lieb. We didn't want to wake you or anyone else. Before Noelle could retort, the front doors to House Silva opened again. Phew. Time for a lunch break. Kane spoke in an exhausted tone. Training was fun, but now I'm hungry. Well, we did end up smelling whatever Ren is cooking in the kitchen from outside while training. Licht pointed out as he cleaned off the sweat on his forehead with a towel. True, Kane agreed, wiping his own face down with a towel. Speaking of, what are you cooking, Ren? This question got Asta, Noelle, and Lieb curious as they all tried to look over to see. It's a curry dish, Ren answered simply. Thus the five backed away to give Ren space due to her mana slightly flaring up as if to tell them personal space. And don't worry, there'll be plenty for all of us. Then why are you making extra? Lieb questioned, noticing the sizes of each of pots and pans being slightly bigger than necessary for cooking as Ren continued. Are we going to end up with leftovers? Maybe, Ren hummed. But that's not exactly the reason why I'm making extra. Then why are you? Noelle questioned. Ren only hummed in response as the six heard shouting coming from upstairs. William, vengeance, you're not to go down those stairs without my supervision. Besides, Ren has already told me that she'll be bringing a tray of food up to you. But the six heard William begin to speak, but Alina cut him off. Don't you butt me, mister, Alina told him, grabbing him by the shirt. They're both at the top of the stairs, but can't be seen at the moment. You're still healing. Going down those stairs will lead to you falling down them, and thus getting more injuries, which means more healing for you. Do you understand me? Why yes, Alina. William spoke softly, letting himself get escorted back inside the second guest bedroom. After that, Asta, Noelle, Lieb, Kane, and Licht all blinked, while Ren went back to her cooking. After a few more minutes, it was Asta who broke the silence first. So, Captain William is whipped? Asta questioned. Seems like it, Noelle noted, lightly snickering. Lieb began to chuckle, while Kane and Licht looked at one another. Ren hummed, and done. She then began serving the others' plates. Then placed 2 servings on a nearby tray. Enjoy your lunch. I'll be back down to eat with you all after I give Alina and that stubborn Golden Dawn captain their lunch. And with that, Ren went upstairs, leaving the other 5 at the dining room table, up in the second guest bedroom of House Silva. William was now lying in bed with the covers over him, Alina now getting back to work on healing him physically, mentally, and of course, to heal his mana. William whimpered, Alina's shouting at him still fresh in his mind. Alina looked over and down at William and lightly sighed. I'm sorry for shouting at you earlier. Alina began apologetically, but you have to be mindful of your health right now. William just mumbled something that Alina guessed to be him saying yes. To that she nodded and continued working to heal him. That's good. As long as you know, then we shouldn't have any more of that. I'm sorry. William spoke softly. I've just been such trouble for you. And I don't mean to be. Alina took in his words as she continued to work on healing him. I know, William. Besides, you're not my first difficult patient, and definitely won't be my last. But that's all the more reason why I'm here. She hummed. It is. William spoke softly. Yes. Alina nodded, continuing with her work. William opened his mouth to say something, but they heard a knock on the door. Alina looked up and spoke again. You may enter. The door opened, and entering the guest bedroom is Ren, carrying a tray. Here's your food. Ren spoke towards William and Alina. She then turned to face Alina specifically before continuing. How has William been doing? He's been doing all right, Alina answered. Though, as you heard earlier, he is being a tad difficult. William felt his face heat up in embarrassment at Alina's words about him, thus hiding his face under the covers. Please don't embarrass me. William spoke softly. Too late, Alina hummed, while Ren lightly chuckled in amusement. Well, make sure William eats, Ren told Alina. Otherwise, I'll have to have him stay here longer. William peeked out from under the covers at Ren's words. What? William spoke softly. Why would I have to stay here longer? Ren turned her attention to William after Alina nodded in confirmation at Ren's words. Yes, Ren nodded. If you don't behave and make Alina's job to heal you take longer than necessary. Right, William murmured softly. Ren turned back to Alina. Make sure he eats, Ren told her. And if you have to, force feed him. Once again, Alina nodded. Of course, she remarked. Ren nodded, then left the room and closed the door behind her. As soon as Ren left, Alina turned to face William. You know she was serious, right? William only nodded slowly. Yes, he spoke softly. I know. He goes to sit up, only to wince in pain. Before he can try again, Alina helps him sit up, then puts a sunflower behind his back as a makeshift pillow to help him sit up. He turned to look at Alina, and nodded and spoke, "Thanks for that," to her afterwards. "That's why I'm here, you goof," Alina told him as she got a bit of the curry off of the tray. "Now eat." William only nodded slowly, opening his mouth to let Alina feed him. With Ren, she had made her way back downstairs and into the dining room area of House Silva, where Asta, Noelle, Lieb, Licht, and Kane still sat. Most of them were done with their plates. A couple of them, probably Asta and Lieb, had gotten seconds. Ren took her seat at the open spot at the table and began to eat, listening to the conversation as amongst the others. "So, after Asta gets his grimoire, the four of us should spar," Kane suggested, pointing at himself, then his father, then at Lieb, and finally Asta. "Kek kek." "Yes," Lieb agreed before turning to face his brother. "What do you think, Asta?" Asta hummed as he finished the bite of curry in his mouth. "Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. So long as you don't go overboard and make a hole again," Ren stated, giving them a pointed look. "One time," Kane began, "try 3, and the servants are still fixing that last hole, mind you," Ren deadpanned, sipping her tea. "Oi," Kane groaned, before scoffing. "Well, at least mine wasn't as big as Noelle's hole because of Sea Dragon's roar last week. Hence why I practically forced her on the bed for the rest of the week for using a spell like that in her condition." Ren sipped her tea. "Hey, blame Solid for aggravating me." Noelle crossed her arms. "It's like he wants to do it on purpose too. You know he does. That's why you ignore him." Ren deadpanned. "And you should have just launched a water ball instead of one of your powerful spells that use up a lot of mana. That isn't good for the baby." "Yeah." Lieb nodded in agreement. "After you casted it and made Solid go through the wall, you began bleeding from the mouth." "Okay, I get it," Noelle snarked. Lieb just snickered in response, while Asta, Kane, and Licht all chuckled awkwardly. "Didn't you already punish Solid?" Faye asked his master. "Yes, hence why he is currently being hung over molten lava without his grimoire being watched by Marioliona, who is enjoying the show," Ren replied, sipping her tea and ignoring the others' gaping faces. While Noelle gasped, "I mean, I know he deserved punishment, but why, I was just going to make him do chores around the house for a month." "Noelle, conventional methods of punishment don't work on a man-child like Solid," Ren deadpanned, making Faye, Lieb, and Kane choke on their food from laughing. "With him you have to ingrain it into his brain to make sure he doesn't do it again. Besides, he would have just secretly had the servants do it without your knowledge and get away with it. I am not that kind nor merciful to be lenient with him." Noelle took in Ren's words, then nodded solemnly. "Yeah, that makes sense," Noelle remarked, frowning a bit. "Still, if only he wasn't as stubborn as," she trailed off, not wanting to finish her own sentence. "Well, hopefully this will teach him a lesson, especially when it's Marioliona who is watching him." Ren smirked, eating her curry. "He isn't gonna last." Faye smirked. "I take it she took him to the Fire Grand Magic region?" Licht questioned. "That'd be ideal for the punishment you described." "Something like that," Ren hummed, making the others shudder. "Kek, yeah, I'd rather not be on that woman's bad side," Lieb retorted. "Good, you're learning," Faye muttered. "Now if only Alecdora and Langris did the same." "They're still being idiots," Noelle scoffed, taking another bite of her curry. "It's those two, so it's no surprise," Ren shrugged. "I've learned to deal with them, plus they make it easy to pin them down with my knights. And when they think they can try to fight back, well, I'm sure you guys can figure out that outcome." "And they aren't dead, right?" Kane asked. "Of course not." Ren rolled her eyes. Lieb couldn't help but snicker in amusement at those words. Asta took another bite of curry before speaking again. "Well, are they better than Patry at least?" Asta asked. "Asta, anyone is better than Patry," Noelle deadpanned. "Seriously? I'm surprised that elf child isn't dead yet. We still need him for battle. Plus, if he tries anything, I have elf fan a rotisserie spin him over a fire." Ren shrugged. "Oh dear," Licht remarked. "Though I suppose that's better than being at the Fire Grand Magic region for who knows how long." "Did you even give Marioliona a time limit?" Kane asked. "I told her to keep him hanging until she got bored," Ren replied, taking a bite of her curry. "So never?" Faye asked. "Oh dear lord," Noelle groaned. "Ren, I know Solid can be a massive jerk, but come on, he's still family, like it or not." "Oh calm down, Noelle. Marioliona has a short attention span for everything except fighting. She'll get bored by the end of the day." Ren chuckled. "And what if she doesn't?" Noelle demanded, to the point of almost standing up. "Even if Solid's a water magic user, his mana resources will evaporate until he's dry. Well, hopefully dry enough to exhaust him, but still, I will not. Suddenly, the doors were kicked open, making everyone but Ren jump in shock to see Marioliona coming in carrying a dizzy solid. "Ah, you're back. I take it that he didn't last long like I thought?" Ren asked. "Of course not." Marioliona scowled. "Honestly, such a sack of flour. He just laid there and didn't bother to struggle. Boring." "Oh, shows that he's learning. I guess he can be taught." Ren hummed, snapping her fingers for a seraph knight to form and take solid from Marioliona and carried him off. "Thank you again for watching him, Leona." "You're welcome, Ren," Marioliona told the Bluet Elysia Elif tribe leader before turning her attention to the others at the table. "How are the heads of House Silva doing?" Asta, Noelle, Lieb, Kane, and Licht went back to eating their curry as they listened to Ren's conversation with Marioliona. Hopefully nothing too crazy for them. Well, outside of their level of crazy anyway. Well, Asta is finally gonna go get his grimoire. "And Noelle over here, about to have humble pie," Faye replied. "Behave, Faye," Ren stated, checking the time. "Speaking of, you should head to the tower now, Asta. I'm sure the master should be there around this time." "Oh," Asta gasped, standing up almost immediately. "Yeah, you're right." He paused, then added, lightly chuckling in the process. "I know that this sounds silly, but would it be alright if you came with me?" "I'll be going with you, Asta," Noelle told her husband. "No, you'll be staying put," Ren replied. "Alina told me that you're just about far enough for a healer to check your child, including the gender and how many you'll be having." Noelle turned to look at Ren and pouted angrily at the fact that she couldn't witness Asta obtain his grimoire. "Wah, how come I have to stay put?" Noelle groaned loudly. "Because the earlier we get it done, the earlier we can prepare for their arrival," Ren stated. "And besides, I would think you'd be a little excited to hear if you'll be having a boy or girl. Or if she's having triplets," Kane muttered. Unfortunately for Kane, Noelle heard him and shot a water ball at him, which he barely evaded. "No joking like that, I swear," Noelle snapped. "Ugh. Hence why we're getting this done. I'm getting either a healer or Owen," Ren sighed, standing up and pointed at Noelle. "You go lay back down on your bed." "God damn it," Noelle hissed as Asta picked her up bridal style. "At least I get some training from Rogel from within Dreamland." "You don't need to be asleep for this," Ren raised an eyebrow. "It's a common spell with healers to look over your abdomen to see the embryo, or currently the baby inside." "I know that," Noelle replied as Asta continued to carry her out of the dining room and for the stairs. "I mean whenever I get to sleep." "Is that why you've been tossing and turning in your sleep?" Ren questioned. "And literally kicked Asta out the bed in your sleep days ago?" Faye added. Marioliona laughed at that as she left. If Noelle wasn't being carried upstairs by Asta right now, Ren and Faye would see Noelle's dark red face. "Shut up, Faye," Noelle groaned loudly. "Hey, not my fault. I literally heard Asta yelp when he fell off the bed after you kicked him." Faye shrugged. "I need to get training from Rogel somehow," Noelle humped in retaliation. "I don't want to feel like I'm dead weight to the rest of you with the upcoming battles ahead." "Just made an observation," Ren began, before she stopped and looked. Looks like we have a guest." "A guest?" Kane wondered aloud, before he could continue. An apparition of a perplete woman with a halo above her head and angelic wings spreading out from her back appeared. "Hello, Ren," Oriel spoke. "Welcome, Oriel." Ren smiled, once again ignoring everyone's gaping faces. "What do we owe the visit?" "Oh, I was hoping I'd get to talk to Rogel," Oriel retorted. "It has been so long since I talked to him." "So, that's an angel," Licht whispered. "Yeah," Kane spoke softly. "If he's not available, I could always come back later," Oriel added on. "So long as it's fine with him and Noelle," Ren replied. "I was just getting a healer to check on Noelle's baby." This, surprisingly, piqued Oriel's interest. "Oh," the perplete woman angel wondered aloud. "Would it be alright if I checked? My molecule magic does have recovery magic spells in its disposal." "Huh, do you mind Noelle?" Ren asked. "Kek. I think she's already in her and Asta's bedroom," Lieb retorted. Oriel turned to Lieb and observed him. Now that I think about it, he's the devil that used to be inside a 5-leaf clover grimoire," she thought, looking over him again. "And now he has it due to him being a magic knight for the Silver Eagles. I must admit, I didn't see that coming." She smiled. "Though it's a very good thing. It shows that the goal Queen Aesir and Wizard King Julius want for the world is slowly coming to pass." "Well, if she doesn't mind, I can go check it," Oriel spoke. Before anyone else could say anything, Oriel's apparition became small molecules and flew up the stairs. Just as she did that, Asta came down the stairs. "All right, I'm going to the capital's grimoire tower," Asta called as he headed for the doors. "I should be back in about 20 or so minutes." Keck, good luck, Lieb grinned. Asta nodded. Then he left the house. Soon thereafter, a dark, bluish cobalt-haired man rode the waves of the icy cold Mana air in the wintry kingdom of Spade with what appeared to be a giant stingray. But instead of going to it, he is leaving it. He wore bluish-white clothing, as well as wearing the symbol of House Silva on his shirt. He rubbed his eyes to clear the snow from his eyes so his vision would be better. He looked around. His pink eyes glowed a slight hue as he continued down the path he was on. His name? Ray Silva. It has been quite a while since I was in the Clover Kingdom, Ray remarked to himself. Luckily, I just finished the work the Wizard King sent me to do here. But now, I can head back to the Clover Kingdom. I'm curious to see how my children are doing since I've been gone for so long. It didn't take long for Asta to find and reach the Grimoire Tower in the royal capital of the Clover Kingdom. The mages that were running it observed the ash-blonde boy curiously, but didn't say anything, though they were thinking why he was here, since, under normal circumstances, you can't get a grimoire if you're past the age of 15. Did this mean Asta couldn't get his grimoire? Nope. He'll still get one. In fact, not long after he showed up, a bright, yellowish-white light shined from one of the top shelves of the Grimoire Tower. Everyone within the Grimoire Tower watched in awe as the grimoire came down towards Asta. Asta, like everyone else in the tower, was surprised by this, and not just because he got a grimoire. Oh no, he received a 4-leaf clover grimoire. Impossible, a noblewoman muttered in shock. How could a peasant nobody get a 4-leaf clover grimoire? A nobleman next to the noblewoman muttered in agreement. Asta ultimately ignored the muttering nobles and left the Grimoire Tower, a smile on his face. I can't wait to get back home and see the looks on everyone's faces when they see that I got a 4-leaf clover grimoire from the Grimoire Tower, Asta spoke to himself, the big smile still on his face as he walked down the bustling royal capital streets. Back at House Silva, Oriel's apparition made it to Asta and Noelle's bedroom, where Noelle lay after Asta brought her upstairs. Noelle looked over at the apparition of Oriel beside her. Hut, Noelle questioned softly. Oriel, what are you doing here? I'll be doing the check that Ren initially wanted the healers to do, Oriel explained, waved her right hand to create something with her molecule magic. As she did, she began to hum to herself. After a few minutes of scanning with her molecule magic created tool, she saw a baby forming within Noelle's abdomen, or rather, the forming of 3 babies. Oh wow, Oriel whispered softly. What is it? Noelle asked or demanded. Oriel went silent for a few moments, before eventually finally replying to Noelle's question. You're going to have triplets, Oriel answered sheepishly as she deactivated her magic. Noelle blinked a few times, as if processing Oriel's response and the news she had just received. After a few more seconds, her pink eyes widened in utter shock, still not 100% fully grasping it. WHAD? Noelle shouted or shrieked. End of chapter 47. Link down to the comments if you want to read the rest of the story. I hope you all enjoy. Goodbye.